What's good, everybody? This is Chatterbox Bearcats. We stream live on YouTube after all the games at Chatterbox Bearcats and at Chatterbox Sports. You can also check us out wherever you get your audio podcasts. Today, we're breaking down the Kansas Jayhawks 54-40 win over the Cincinnati Bearcats. Yes, you heard that right. The Bearcats hit 40 points in the basketball game. The shooting was absolutely anemic from Cincinnati. 30% from the floor, 13% from three in the game. They only get to the charity stripe twice. They go 1 of 2 from that statistic. With the loss, Cincinnati is now 15-14 in home conference games under Wes Miller. A program that never used to lose at Fifth Third Arena has now lost 14 of 29 conference home games under Wes Miller. The 40 points, the lowest point total in Fifth Third Arena history. History made today. Myself and Houdini, also Nick Niehaus, joined from the arena, from the outside of the arena on the post-game report. We'll get into that in just a minute, but I do want to hear from Wes Miller. This is what he said on the naysayers, because there are a lot of them right now that are out there, myself included, that do not believe Wes Miller is going to turn this thing around. We've heard it for now 3 years, where he says we have the right players. They're going to snap out of this thing. The lid is coming off the basket. The Cats are 0-4 in conference play. They're showing no signs of consistent improvement. They take 2 steps forward today and immediately take 3 steps back down the stretch. Here's Wes.
The only thing we have to do is continue to stay together, continue to work, continue to grow, and we can say thank you to 2 groups of people out there when this is all said and done. We can say thank you to the people that stuck with us and believed in us and kept supporting us, and we can say thank you to the people that didn't, because one of the greatest things in the world is proving people wrong. So we're not going to let 4 games define us. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep working, and this is a good basketball team, and we'll get our rhythm again offensively. If we continue to defend and fight, we're going to be in games like we were tonight, and eventually the lid will come off.
There was a tweet after the game from our main account, Chatterbox Sports, that said, is this the low point in recent Cincinnati Bearcats basketball history? Because obviously you go back to the Yates days, and that was much lower than this. In fact, just a week ago, the Cincinnati Bearcats were the 16th ranked team in the country, and now we're talking about burning everything down. But it was interesting because there were some yeses, there were some nos. Our own Eric Lilly that's on this show said no. The low point for me was the DePaul game in the Big East tournament in Mick's second season, the team that had like Mike Williams. And I disagree. I think this is much lower than that point was. That point, we didn't know what to expect with Mick Cronin. It's year 2. It's a landscape in college basketball where you had to bring in JUCOs his first season. And then the second season, you could finally bring in your own guys, but they were freshmen. They had to develop. Wes Miller has one of the oldest teams in the country right now. And it's easy to look awful when you miss shots. And that's where a lot of the talk comes into play. There's a lid on the basket right now per Wes Miller, and that lid's coming off. Well, it's got to come off more than this. We saw them make some shots in the non-con. They are not the worst shooting team in the country. Right now, it feels that way. It's consistently 30% from the floor. It's consistently in the teens from deep. They are going to shoot the basketball better. But is that going to equate to a winning season in the Big 12? Probably not. They're in a 4-game hole right now. They got Colorado on the road. That's going to be a tough game. But why it's rock bottom for me is because I believed. I told you all on this show some of the takes that I had. I mean, it felt like this program was heading in the right direction. We retained all the players that we wanted to retain. And guess what? Those players we retained have seemingly regressed, or at least lost their confidence. Let's get into that conversation here from another perspective. This is immediately after the game when the juices were flowing high. And I'll give Wes the credit out of the gate. He had them ready to play early. The team played hard despite not being able to make anything. But the offense is just so hard to watch. And in that second half, when Kansas started making adjustments, Cincinnati could not hit that bucket over and over again. They missed it. They tried to get C.J. Frederick involved. Simas Lukosius, 1 of 10 for the floor, 0 of 6 from deep. He had 2 points. That is a huge point of contention today. Aziz Bandaogo plays a lot to score 0 points in a game where you need offense. Really, the stars of the show today, Arrinten Page with 9 points, Dillon Mitchell with 10 points. Dan Skillings always plays well, and then Josh Reed gave it a lot of fight. Aside from that, it was disgusting. 1 Bearcat in double figures today. Is the microphone ready? Are we good to go?
I don't think you're on your mic, by the way, Chuck. I think I'm on mine. It's showing that I'm on it. So regardless, if you can hear me, hopefully you can. I mean, Seamus Lukosius and Jizzle James have regressed beyond belief. I mean, I don't know what happened. I mean, Seamus went 1 of 10. Jizzle James 1 of 6 combined with 5 points. We had 40 points in a college basketball game. There is no – we can't make free throws. We can't make layups. Hell, we can't make wide open dunks. We sure as hell can't shoot a three. The only positive is we have a solid defense. But, I mean, we're going to be struggling to score 50 points a game. And we were supposed to be bringing in a loaded class, a loaded roster, top 25 all year. That is dead and gone. Like, we are beyond any type of a panic button. We have to really start discussing, is Wes Miller the guy? Our half-court offense, what changes have we made? We've seen this story now 4 straight games of the Big 12, and we've made no adjustments. We have made no adjustments. I don't think we ran a damn offensive set. We do the high ball screen. We can't slip the screens well, which we should be doing if they're going to be switching, like Baylor did, for example. We couldn't figure that out. I mean, that's basketball 101. I don't know what to do with myself and this team. What do we shoot? I think you just ran through it. We shot
30% from the floor, 13% from deep.
It's just, you're not going to win any games. I mean, this team stinks. I don't know how else to say it. We stink.
All right, before I move on with the show, can you tell me, chat too, can you hear this tap? Nothing?
Barely.
Whatever. This is what it is.
It sounds okay.
It feels like last year again. We got off to such a hot start. The shows were humming, and then they lost every game, and this is what it is. We don't even go live at the 4-minute mark anymore because I don't want to talk about a team that consistently loses. Crowd showed up again. Never really had the chance to get going for multiple possessions. Just felt like whenever the Cats would go up by 1, go up by 3, Kansas would make that run. And the game clearly changed with, I think, 5 minutes to go. Arrinten Page missed a dunk with nobody on him. Just missed it. Got stuffed by the front of the rim. Would have brought the game down to 1. Place would have been electric. Instead, Kansas goes the other way. They knock down a little pull-up J. It's a 5-point game. The team, again, does not make the winning play. The crowd gets out of it. Kansas goes up 7. They go up 9. They go up 11. And then we heard legitimate boos for the last 3 minutes of this game from Fifth Third Arena. This fan base is turning on Wes in front of our eyes. I mean, if you are one of the few out there that is still 1,000% bored on Wes Miller, then you better be 1,000% on board with Scott Satterfield. Because that guy, people want him gone 2 years in. This is 4 years. This is year 4 with Wes Miller. And we are just watching continuously bad basketball games. He's below 500, well below 500 on his home floor in the Big 12. These are all his guys, everyone. These are all his guys, and they're not winning games. They lose by 14 today. Let's start off with the line, Houdini, because the Bearcats were favored in the game today. They were -1.5. I texted a group chat full of buddies that I know from Kansas and said, fellas, I know I haven't seen you guys in a long time. Jake, congratulations on getting married. With that being said, take Kansas with everything you own. I mean it. And then for a while there, I was like, you know what? Vegas may have got us. We may actually beat the sucker play. No, not even close. If you bet on Cincinnati in this game, shame on you. Shame on you.
This was one of those games where when I saw the line, I was like, oh, shit, maybe UC does win, because this is the all-time sucker bet, the number 11 team on the road. We bet this so many times. Typically, Vegas has this right. What Vegas doesn't know is that we don't have a home court advantage. We do not. To do this at home, it's one thing to shoot 10% from 3 when you're playing, at Baylor or at Kansas. You're doing this at home. You can't shoot on the road. You can't shoot at home. Typically you're looking at a 10-point swing just playing at your home court. We have been abysmal at home against any team with a pulse, and that's throughout Wes's tenure. I think he has a couple big wins, relatively big wins. But we haven't beaten the top 35 Ken Palm team at home. What was the stat, since 2018 or something? Yep. I mean, it's unacceptable. Like, we're acting like we're some joke of a program We made the tournament how many times in a year, in a row? And now we're going to be on the outside looking in again, dude. I mean, I don't know what you can really say with Wes's coaching ability other than not good. Just
here's what
flat
you
out
say, man.
Isn't good.
Here's what you say, man. The administration, they are the ones that gave him an extension. I get it. You have to extend someone going into the Big 12 to make his money up to par of what other coaches are making in the Big 12. But the situation sucks because any other time in Bearcats history, I mean, if the buyout isn't what it is, like you're firing Wes Miller if this team does not make the tournament and they continue to look like this. You're firing him. I mean, we're not going to accept 40 points as a program, losing by 14 in your home gym in 4 straight losses. We're just not going to accept that. If we become that sort of a program, then we may as well be Wake Forest. We may as well be Virginia Tech. We may as well be, I mean, the list goes on. And I don't think we are that. I think we're a step above it. I think we're on the level, maybe not quite Louisville, but I think we can be there, something like that. And we just haven't been good at all. Good at all.
No,
Louisville's probably a pretty bad comparison with how bad they've been. But I just, there's that level there. We're like a tier 2 top program in America.
Right. We're probably right where Mick left us off. We're not a blue blood, but we're right there. We're a team that should always be in the tournament, always in the conversation, ranked in multiple years. That doesn't seem to be the case with Wes Miller. And it'd be one thing if we could watch these games and we're losing shootouts, we're losing 88 to 85, something like that, where at least it was fun to watch. I mean, we're not only losing, this is torture to watch the games. Like it really is. It is an abysmal experience. I can only imagine what people at the arena today were thinking. As you said, there was booze raining down. I mean, it's bad. We are in a very, very bad spot as a program.
Yeah, Egg McMuffin said it best. Wake Forest is 11-4. Even they're good. They were more on the bubble than we were last season. There's just nothing to show for all these good recruits that we've gotten. We're not a young team by any means. I mean, you go through the lineup and Bandego's a veteran, Mitchell's a veteran, Seamoss is a 5th-year guy, Jizzle has a couple of years under his belt in the same program, Skilling's 3 years in the same program. Page has played a couple of years in college basketball. Day-Day, a couple of years. Josh, every single person that played today. Frederick, 5 years. Every single person that played today has years and years of experience. And I know Kansas is the most experienced team in college basketball. I haven't looked at the numbers, but we have to be up there. That was the talk this offseason, the continuity, the fact that all these guys had bought in. They knew the right way to play. They knew the system. What is our system right now? Because I thought it was getting offensive rebounds and out-rebounding teams. Kansas wins that stat by 2 today. They grabbed 15 offensive boards. So they win the toughness. They win the hustle points. They turned it over 7 times compared to Cincinnati's 12. We couldn't hit anything. They couldn't hit anything. Yet somehow with the home court advantage, ours was worse. I thought when we looked decent earlier, we were putting pressure on the rim. We were taking it to the hole. We were getting some offensive rebounds. That's what we were doing well. And then once again, we start settling on tough 3-pointers. Guess what, fellas? We can't shoot. We are unbelievably bad at shooting. And right now, the maestros of being bad at shooting are Seamoss Lukosius and Jizzle James, who combined 2 of 16 from the floor. Let's start with Seamoss. What do you do right now? Because we've seen him be the star of this team. We saw it through the large portion of last year. I don't see how you sit him down and say this is now Josh Reed's position. But at some point, what are we going to do, man?
No, you just got to play it out because there is no way, there is no recipe for this team to be even remotely decent if Seamoss Lukosius isn't a focal point of this offense. And he has been just so lost. It's like, has this guy ever played basketball? He's missing his typical threes that he makes. He got a couple good looks today. He just is completely lost, and Jizzle James as well. But it's more surprising that Seamoss Lukosius is playing this way. And this team just has no identity, zero identity. And that's where you're talking about Scott Satterfield. At least I can see the path that Scott Satterfield and how he wants to play. I have no idea what Wes even wants this team to be. Right now, our identity is we score 40 points and lose by 15 every single game, and we can't shoot over 10% from 3. That's our identity. I guess if that's what Wes wants, then he nailed it. The nail on the head there. I mean, hell. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm trying to think of I think first you change the starting lineup. We said this last game. He refuses to do that. I think you got to change something up. Put Day Thomas in there. Take Jizzle. Put him on the bench. Maybe he's more comfortable there. But with Simas, putting Josh Reed and playing him 30 minutes a game, that is certainly not going to win us any games. I can promise you that much.
All right, we got boots on the ground. Nick Niehaus joins us, one of the other hosts of Chatterbox Bearcats. He's walking through the hills of Clifton right now. Somber atmosphere in there towards the end, I would imagine, my friend.
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right?
Got you loud and clear, bud.
Yeah, well, it's funny that I joined as you guys are talking, and I was going to come on and be like, where's Simas and Jizzle? Where are they? I mean, Simas was on the bench with, 6 minutes to go? And so was Jizzle. So just fitting that that's what you guys were talking about. Yeah, Somber, a lot of booze in Fifth Third Arena, me included. People are just not happy. And I got my cousin right here. I'm on my podcast. I'm sorry. Hold up. My cousin,
I got a podcast, bro.
He's upset. Everybody's upset. But what'd you mention in terms of Simas and Jizzle, their shooting percentages? What was it, 2 for 15 or something?
2 for 16 total.
2 for 16. Today. And it was glaringly obvious. I don't know, guys. There's not an easy answer. I mean, like you said, Josh Reed, not a recipe. You can't play him for 30 minutes. But him and Arrinten Page were the only ones who gave us some fight today in the second half. So,
yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I had it ready to go on the notes today. If you could even see it, the very top was give Wes a golf clap for having him ready to play. That was win or lose with 5 minutes to go. And the way that they crumbled down the stretch and the lazy turnovers and the disinterested play, I don't know, man. I mean, at a certain point, you have to hold someone accountable. And these rosters keep shifting every single season. We're bringing in new guys, and nothing's changing. Nothing is changing. We're in year 4. This is tough, man, because no one wants to see Wes go. We got a Baev and Tillery coming in next year. We say the same thing every offseason. It feels like we're trending in the right direction. But at a certain point, the proof is in the pudding. The tail is in the tapioca. We got to trust what we're seeing with our own eyes. And everything that we are seeing with our own eyes is that this team has stunk over and over. We get Wes going into the postgame pressers saying this team will figure it out. They're coming. You watch. He said that for 3 years. He said that with Landers, Nolly and company. I said it's not happening. He said that last year with the team. I said it's not happening. I was hopeful today that maybe it does happen. I still have a glimmer of hope in my mind that maybe, just maybe, this team can somehow figure it out. But if they can't, at some point, we have to point our finger at the coach. If we're not going to fire him, there's really not much you can do aside from being behind him. But on a podcast where we can express our feelings, my feeling is this guy's a dud. He's a dud.
Well, and I think I could speak for everyone on the show and probably a lot of people in the chat and just overall. Wes Miller is probably the easiest guy on planet Earth to root for. Everybody is rooting for him. He says all the right things. I think as far as being a player's coach, the kids love him. He knows how to be a leader. There's no doubt about any of that stuff. At some point, you have to win some basketball games, and his style of coaching is not working. We were talking about it in the last show. When somebody dribbles the ball down the court and literally just hands the ball to the other team, they need to be yanked off the damn floor. We saw it. Let's start doing the damn Mick. We saw it again. We have to lead the damn country in just entry passes to the other team. It's not even forced turnovers, unforced errors. Guys need to be held accountable, and he is not doing it. He can clap all he wants and chew all the gum he wants on the sidelines, and then he can say in the presser, I believe in our team. I think our shots are going to fall. How many times can you say that before you say, actually, I don't think our shots are ever going to fall? Because our offense is stagnant. We have no half-court offense. We can't make layups and we can't make free throws. We can't even get to the damn free throw line.
But we don't play. We're soft. So don't tell me.
That's what we need right now. Need right now. I have 500 career wins. I'm not even 50. What more do you want from me? That's what we need. Come on now. Oh, God, fellas. This is tough, Niehaus.
Look, I've been joking about needing Mick Cronin's fire the last week because I played that clip on the midweek show. And I'm like, we need some of that, not to that extreme in Cincinnati. And then, of course, Mick on Friday night gets ejected. Now, they lose by like 18 points on the road at Maryland. But where is that, Chuck? Chuck, that is the one thing. I think we're missing is that sort of attitude where if you screw up, your ass is getting pulled. Now, look, I don't care. Like, Mick used to pull guys for missed shots. I don't need somebody getting pulled for missing a three or missing a bucket, because guess what? On this team, we'd have a new lineup every 5 freaking seconds. So I don't want that. But Dan Skillings, look, he's been our best player the last 4 games. Don't get me wrong. The laziest pass, I think, with 4 minutes left in the game, KJ Adams takes it to the other way and 1 3-point swing. I think he actually missed the free throw. But regardless, the laziest pass.
Big.
Guys aren't scared out there. Nobody's scared to mess up. Like, I know you need confidence. I know maybe being scared to play the game is not the right way to play, but it's not working the way it is now where Wes is everybody's best friend.
And that's the funny thing about the national perception of Mick is I saw some tweets yesterday and they're like, how would anyone want to play for this guy? He seems like such a tool. And then you hear from the Sean Kilpatricks of the world, and we've had former Cats players on the show, and, you know, our buddy Eppensteiner, and we always ask, like, what was it like playing for Mick? And they're like, he was the man. He was the best, held guys accountable, but loved them. And look, Wes loves the guys. I heard from Mason Madsen when I had him on the show a couple months back that, you know, he thought Wes was the guy and he was the man and every player loved him, even the ones that transferred. But at a certain point, you got to do something. I don't know. I don't know what we do here, fellas. I mean, he changed up the strategy today. He went with, you know, some different bench players and got some energy from the bench, but we got the same result. And this is a results-based business.
Great, Gray Bush Live. Why the hell would Mick Cronin leave UCLA to come here? I don't think he is. First off, he's struggling at UCLA anyway. This isn't really about Mick Cronin.
Yeah, we're not asking for Mick back. I don't want to be Xavier and get Sean.
It's the style in which he coaches where, listen, Wes has tried the style that he's currently utilizing. It clearly isn't working. It is not working. And he did try some other stuff. He played CJ Frederick. I don't know what the final minutes was, but he had to have played damn near 20 minutes. Did absolutely nothing. I think that you're at some point going to have to try to play Rayvon Griffith. That's the only guy. Maybe McKinley was going to be a top 10 draft pick. Maybe that was really what was going to happen, and he got hurt. So next year we're going to be just fine. But it's really hard to look down the roster and say, what is the answer? It looks like we might just – if Seamus and Jizzle James don't come out of this coma, we are going to be bottom dwellers in the Big 12. That's a guarantee.
So I tweeted before the game. I was like, keys, my keys to the game. Make shots and have that dog in you. And in the first half, it seemed like we did. Like, we were contesting, passes. We were contesting 50-50 balls. It seemed like we had that. We didn't make shots, right? And then how many points did we end up with in the second half? 14 points.
15. In the second half. We scored 40 in the game, which is the lowest in Fifth Third Arena history. We saw history today, fellas. We saw history.
Oh, my goodness. Look, you can have as much dog in the fight as you want. You score 40 points, you're losing 99.9% of the games. So, Seamus and Jizzle, I tweeted this and I even deleted it, which I never delete tweets, but I was going to say congrats on the NIL. Congrats on the NIL, boys, because goodness gracious, when it hit the road, when we're starting to play these tough teams, they have been absolutely missing. They've been missing. We need them to show up. Like, I asked Lily on the midweek show, is it the bench or is it the stars? The bench showed up. Page and Josh Reed. That was the best minutes Josh Reed has ever provided us in the first half. And then Seamus and Jizzle, just absolutely nothing from them. So I don't know. We don't have the answer.
I'll say I'm not a coach. I'm not a coach, okay? I want to make that disclosure clear.
I'm not a financial advisor, but I told everyone to get in on Kansas, just saying.
Well, the one positive, if you could take one, granted, we just made history at Fifth Third Arena with the lowest total points in UC history, which is just sickening with what we thought we had coming into this year. Arrinten Page, I will say that. I know he had one of the worst missed dunks, and that was a huge momentum swing. But he actually had a couple back-to-the-basket moves, which this team needs badly. If we can get Arrinten Page like a game like today where he's got 8 or 9 points, that's a big plus with what this team is missing. Granted, we need our guys to wake up and score more than 40 points, but that was the one bright spot, was Arrinten Page actually showed a little bit of interior scoring, which we haven't seen all year.
Let me ask you this, with the way Page played and just with the way Aziz plays in general, and this is nothing against Aziz, like he's an extremely talented player. He works in a lot of systems, and for whatever reason, we've like built the offensive system around Aziz and the high ball screen, and he's out along the perimeter way too much. We see him with the ball in his hands with 10 seconds on the shot clock, and he's just a zero on offense. Like even when you get it to him down low in the post, he somehow has an offensive foul, or he just misses the bucket bad. Like he just is not an offensive threat. Would you do something to switch up the lineup and, have Aziz as more of a defensive specialist, spark plug off the bench, and either go Page or Mitchell at the 5? Like, what are we doing here, fellas?
I mean, Aziz thrives in an offense where there's 4 other scorers on the court.
That's why he was good at Utah Valley. Right. They had that white dude that could knock down buckets. We don't have that.
If nobody is making outside shots and nobody can create their own shot, Aziz is going to struggle massively. He's great if guys are penetrating and he can get lobs at the rim. We are doing none of that. So, yes, I do think, and it's not really Aziz's fault. That's never been his game. That's not what he's supposed to be doing. We got to go small, and I said it. Put Dillon Mitchell at the 5. I don't give a shit. Put Josh Reed at the 4. Put Simas at the 3, Day at the 2, Jizzle at the 1. However you want to do it. We got to try something else, because it can't get worse. We already set the lowest scoring total in history. It can't get worse, Wes. Change it up. Do anything. Put Rayvon Griffith in, for the love of God.
Thomas has had a lot of good takes on the show today. Thomas Kyra, our friend in the chat, but he says this one, Mitchell is worse on offense than Aziz. I think that is a terrible take, with all due respect.
Yeah, we saw Mitchell actually drive to the basket in the first half, make a couple good, layups. He I don't know. I'm trying to think. I was fully ready this week for us to have a decent game against Kansas and to buy me back in, because we said, Chuck, me and you did the show when the schedule came out. Like, this is the toughest stretch of the year. No doubt about it. These are the best teams that we're going to play all year long. Look, we haven't looked great, but I was ready to take a moral victory and be like, maybe we aren't that bad. 40 points? Maybe we are that bad. Maybe we are that bad. If we lost by, because what did we end up losing by? 14? But it was kind of the last 4 or 5 minutes that, swayed that. We were in it until the last 5 minutes. It's one thing, we've said it all year, like, you can lose, like, we're okay losing ugly nowadays, like, without Mick. It's been 6 years since Mick has been here. I'm okay losing ugly. 40 points is inexcusable. And this is somebody who was fully ready to take a moral victory if we lost by 5 to Kansas, say 75-70. So I don't know. I don't even know the answer. Nobody knows the answers. It's Wes's job to figure it out. And, I've always been Wes's number one fan. I think it's starting to creep in that maybe he's not the guy.
Thomas said this best, because Chuck Young in the chat says, how about a little credit to the Jayhawk defense? Hey, credit to the Jayhawk defense, but every team in the Big 12 has done this to Cincinnati. I mean, look at the point totals over the last 4 games for UC. I don't even have to know it off the top of my head to know that it's disgusting. It's 48 against Baylor. It's 67 against Arizona. It's 67 against Kansas State. They haven't broken 70 once in these games. It's been, consistently 5 to 6 to 8 minute droughts. UC had another 8-minute drought in the game today. And then we got Casey saying the problem isn't that Aziz has no offense. He needs to be on the court. Problem is the team gets too deep in the shot clock over and over, and they force bad shots. This is something that I want, because Wes talked about it in the last game. He's like, I don't want these guys flying up the floor and forcing bad passes. I just want them, even if they're using the entire shot clock, I just want good shots. And they kind of did that early. They cut in the middle of the defense. It collapsed. They hit the open 5-footer. They, had the extra pass to where Mitchell would finish around the rim. Skillings would finish around the rim. And it looked pretty good there. But it was just the amount of threes that they chuck up. Man, it's just it's hard to talk about, to be honest with you, because it's just the same thing over and over all these games, Houdini.
It's Groundhog's Day, man. We've said the same thing after the Baylor game. And Kansas's defense just analytically is very, very good. There's no doubt about it. But like you said, we've done this in every Big 12 game. I hate that we got all those cupcakes early, so our analytics offensively Like I was trying to find like the Ken Palm ranking where it actually looked solid offensively because we put up 140 against Arkansas Pine Bluff or whatever. This is the worst offense in the Big 12. I really believe that. I don't know if there's a team that, like, I'm trying to look down the list, like, who has a worse offense than us? Who's got it worse than us? Nobody.
Yeah, there's a new phrase for ugly in the Gen Z dictionary. It's the Cincinnati Bearcats half-court offense. Nobody's setting a real screen. Everybody's slipping to the basket without touching a body. I mean, that's real stuff right there. They're getting up bad shots. I think it's to the point where we may need Xavier does the kills and the stops. We may need like 5 good offensive possessions in a row and everyone gets a Coney, to where there's some accountability to not taking bad shots, and to, even if you're using much of the shot clock, finding a way to cut into the teeth of the defense, make the extra pass, because all these teams are overplaying Cincy. You know, they're picking them up deep in the – I mean, how many times do we see UC passing the ball 7 feet beyond the three-point line with 5 seconds to go on the shot clock? And a lot of times it's Page or Aziz with the ball in their hands.
Look, I don't want to single out any guys, even though I'm about to single out some guys.
There you go.
But when was the last time we had a guy who was supposed to be our either best player, second best player, regardless, focal point of the offense, focal point of the team, just become a complete no-show? And that's what we're getting from CMOS. Am I wrong to single him out?
No, I said at the beginning of the year, and it kind of looked like it was going that direction. I was like, he's the guy that I'm most confident in as far as he's consistent. I was like, he gives you consistency. You know what you're going to get from him. He's going to give you, 13, 14 points, have a couple big threes every game. He has been nothing but that. I mean, he has been, I'm just pulling down his stat sheet. Kansas State, 2 of 6. Arizona, 2 of 6. Baylor, 2 of 7. Today, 1 of 10. He hasn't got double digits in the Big 12 yet. We're never going to win a game if CMOS can't score 10 points. It's just not going to happen. And you could blame scheme. You can blame a lot of things. A lot of it is just him missing shots. And Jizzle James is getting decent looks too, and he can't make anything. Like, at some point, it's like, is he just not what we thought he was? The CMOS one's a little different. We've seen he's played for 5 years or whatever, 4 years.
Well, it's like the lock-in. It's like the lock-in. We saw it last year. It was like, we know Victor can play. We know he can put the ball in the bucket. He was hitting 4 threes a game at the beginning of the season, and by the end of the year, he was just throwing it off the other side of the backboard. It's a confidence thing. And at a certain point, you got to just put in different bodies and say, all right, who's going to step up? If you're not stepping up over and over and over again, I don't know. Wes's philosophy is they're going to pop. They're going to break out of it. It's hard to watch.
Should we just wrap the show up, Chuck? I don't know much more I could say. I'm so depressed. I'm so disgusted.
Yeah, I got to get my walk going. I got to walk to Short Vine. Because,
all right, get out of here, Niehaus.
I know.
Enjoy yourself.
All right.
Good stuff.
See, well, that's the sick part, Chuck, is when's the last time somebody got to leave Fifth Third Arena, especially the student body, head over to Martino's, have a couple pitchers, celebrating a W? It has been too damn long. It's unfair to everybody.
Well, I mean, it was the Xavier game like 3 weeks ago, if we want to be statistically correct.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
With that being said, we got in the group chat, biggest half of Wes's career coming up. Biggest half of his career coming up. And the Cats score 15 points in that half and just get blasted in their home gymnasium in a game that I thought for 34 minutes, like the score was never going to be sexy. We may have had to win this game 47-45 or something. But just the way they turned off the Jets at the end, the sloppy passes, the inexcusable turnovers that were unforced, the miscommunication, the breakdowns defensively, the quit. There was no fight at the end of this game, and the fans were fed up with it, quite frankly. They started booing, and I don't know. I'd love to feel the pulse of Bearcats Twitter right now and see what everyone's saying. It was bad after the Baylor game. I can't imagine it would get much better. And that's the thing. I was ready to give West the pass for today's game. If they showed up out of the gate, they fought hard. When Kansas made adjustments, Cincinnati matched those adjustments, and we just lost down the stretch due to not being as good as Kansas. But we got our asses beat down the stretch because it seemed like a poorly coached basketball team when it mattered most.
We're getting really, really close to just this team imploding, because I don't care how high character the kids are on the team. Wes Miller, if you keep losing, things are going to get – if we lose to Colorado, I'm not sure exactly when that game is. If we lose to Colorado on the road, and Colorado's no slouch either. I mean, based on what we've seen this team do, they could lose to anybody, obviously. They lose that game, we're 0-5. I mean, this could get really, really ugly. Like, I'm talking, we're dead last in the Big 12 ugly. And then you start having to wonder, do we try to figure out a way to pay $10 million to Wes Miller to get the hell out of town? And I love Wes. I'm so sad that I'm even saying this. It's terrible, man. But, that's the reality that we're in right now.
Yeah, even our eternal optimist, Eric Lilly, on the last show said this was the first time, and this was after the Baylor game, the first time that it had even crossed his head that Wes couldn't succeed at Cincinnati. And you were the same way. You've been on the same boat. I've seen little things in his coaching for a long time now that even Xavier fans, and maybe they're not the best, barometer of what to think about UC's basketball program, but they've always said, this guy's got a little Travis Steele in him. The difference is I feel like Travis Steele won some decently big games. They just, were a game or two away and lost to DePaul too many times, or Providence, or whatever it may be, to sneak into the tournament. But they won some games against a UConn or a Villanova. I'm convinced. I know they won a game against UConn. They won it on New Year's Day a couple of years ago, or New Year's Eve. So Wes he's not winning any of these things, man. Home court advantage means nothing. If you want to get a plus out of the season, it's apparently Vegas and the rankings really like Cincinnati. So fade them, man. Fade them. Just take the other team every single game, put $20 on it, and get a few free meals out of it. I don't know. And then if the Cats win, it's you win, right?
Yeah, that's 4 straight losses against the spread. It is interesting. Like, Landers Nolly and David DeJulius would each in their own right be the best players on this team right now. I mean, you could argue that team 2 years ago, I mean, so far, I know it's still early, 15 games into the season, but that team was better than this team. Like, it is insane to see what we're seeing with at least the talent that we thought we had. And again, it really does come down to, and I hate to pile on kids, it's Seamoss and Jizzle James. If they're not who we thought we were, then we were never going to go anywhere far anyway. So it's tough, man. I don't know what the answers are if those guys can't start making shots. And Wes has got to change some things up. And I don't even care if you think about it, doesn't even make sense. You're like, whatever, let's put Aziz on the bench. Let's put Mitchell at the 5. Let's put Mitchell on the bench. Put Rayvon Griffith in. Try everything to score more than 40 points in a game.
Hey, he tried today. He played CJ for 16, Reed for 15, and Arrinten Page for 14 minutes in the game. Just doesn't work. Jizzle James only played 20 minutes in the game today. Someone that's been consistently playing above 30, gets the least of all the starters and plays less than Day Thomas. So right there, you're seeing a little shift that Day Thomas, who went 1 of 8, worse than Jizzle's 1 of 6, could be creeping into that starting lineup role at some point this season. Yeah, I mean, that's it, man. They showed some fight. They got to beat Colorado. Simple as that. You want to have any chance of turning around the season, you have to beat Colorado. 100%. You lose to Colorado, the wheels are falling off the bus. This thing is it's going to get ugly quickly. And the tough thing is, based on everything we've heard from people that are close to the program that know what they're talking about, it doesn't matter what happens this season. Wes Miller's the coach next year. And we can get excited about Abayev. We can get excited about Tillery. We can hope that, he hits the portal and finds his next Landers Nolly or someone that can take this team over the top. There have been games this season where they've showed us they're somewhat close. Even moments of this game today, they're somewhat close to being a decent basketball team. But, man, the wheels fall off the bus and you have a close to losing record in year number 4. That ain't a serious basketball program, brother. It doesn't take as much time as it used to build good things in this game. You can change it quickly, and 4 years is not quickly. Final thought from you.
Yeah, I mean, if Wes Miller didn't have the recruiting that he does backing him, then I think everybody would be like, we got to get him out of here. He does have a very stud-filled class coming in so far with Tillery and Abayev. That's really the only hope that we have right now. As far as this season.
Freshman. You only hope freshman.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, but he's going to have to hit the portal heavy. And if this continues anyway, because Wes Miller's going to be the coach next year, you could see guys like Jizzle James leaving. You could see guys on this roster leaving, especially if he continues to play this way. So we will see what happens. Colorado is the biggest must-win of all must-wins. because you're right. If we lose this game, the season is over. If we lose to Colorado, the season's over. It's done. No point of even watching. I saw Cairo mention that. There really is no point of watching. And for the sake of our show, Chuck, could we just be decent? I mean, what the hell? We came in here like this show's going to pop off because we're going to be, the top 10 in the country. And now we're going to be scratching and clawing to finish in the middle of the pack of the Big 12. It's just reality hits you fast, man.
No, we'll have to get some segments going, make it more of like a chatter style show. Maybe we finally break down the rise of the Costco guys. It's a double chunk chocolate cookie. I mean, we're going to need something on this show.
That's the state of the program? Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, that is the state of the program because talking about the Bearcats basketball team right now, not a lot of buckets to talk about. In fact, only 18 of them in the game. The Cincinnati Bearcats finished with a whopping 8 assists. I remember a time in my life where I went to a game where I think Steve Logan had 20. He may have had 20-plus assists by himself. It was a glorious day of Bearcat basketball. And the team as a whole today had 8 assists. 8 assists for the Cincinnati Bearcats. This is a good program. This is not a bad program. They have been bad for 4 years now under Wes Miller. I just beg of you, the barbarians that have come through the gate, let's stick with this team for the rest of the year. Let's hope that Wes Miller can figure it out. But if not, let's start having some tough conversations because the entire town of Clifton wants to get rid of Scott Satterfield after 2 seasons. I feel a lot better about the direction of the football program, to be honest with you, than the direction of the basketball program at this current moment, which is crazy to say. Crazy.
I will say this, though. If you're Cunningham and Wes Miller comes in for an interview, are you not hiring him on the spot? You're like just the way – he's probably the best interview to ever exist, Wes Miller. He has to be. He has to be impossible to say no to in an interview. But unfortunately, that is not translated to the basketball court in any fashion. And this is year 4, his handpicked guys, and we have regressed, and our players have regressed. We have had no player development. Nobody's gotten better. You could argue Dan Skillings over the last couple of seasons, sure. But we're watching guys get worse the longer they're playing. Like you said, we're one of the oldest teams in the country. We look like we're a bunch of freshmen out there. It is unacceptable. It's embarrassing, and something needs to change, and it needs to change right now, Colorado.
It's tough. Our play of the day brought to you by Awakenings Coffee. It was a 3-point shot from Arrinten Page, a step-back 3, had C.J. Frederick wide open, and said, nope, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to take this myself. I'm hot. Page hits it, and Arrinten Page also gets our player of the game. Brought to you by Awakenings Coffee. You can check them out in Hyde Park. Good coffee. So that's it, Houdini. The energy was down today, and rightfully so, man. Rightfully so.
Just end the stream, Chuck. I'm disgusted.